Hey everybody, and welcome back to FSi DFS. Looking at the 10-game main slate here for Tuesday night. Pitching, lots of options in my opinion, kind of all throughout at all salary ranges. Weather, not really anything we have to be paying attention to. We got the sheet with the rankings. We'll pull that up here in a couple minutes, but we'll just start up at the top talking about these high salary pitchers. Brown and up, the only guys priced 9K and above. Wheeler and Reagans, I really think separate themselves between the remaining three. Wheeler and Reagans both have the same over-under strikeout prop at 6.5. Juice the same amount as well. So Vegas is expecting a similar performance in terms of that. Wheeler, he's still the better pitcher. You know, he's priced higher up for a reason. He's just in a tougher matchup too, though. So do you want to take the better pitcher in a tougher matchup, or he's not a weak pitcher. Like Reagans is very solid, but in a better matchup for cheaper. I personally would still rather have Wheeler over Reagans, but I could certainly listen to an argument where people would have Reagans over Wheeler, especially when you're taking salary into account. It is a Coors Field slate game, and Arizona has an implied run total like 6.5. Like, it's absurd. So salary is going to be a little bit tight here on the board, so that 700 could go a long way. After those two, King, Eovaldi, and Brown, I'm going to lean a little bit more towards Eovaldi. King and Brown, like, they're both solid options. They're just in really tough matchups facing off one against each other. But Houston and San Diego are both extremely low strikeout teams, especially Houston against left or against right-handed pitching. So while King and Brown have been fine, like very solid, I still am going to lean a little bit more towards Eovaldi, just given that matchup and the strikeout rate that he can bring. But all five of these guys certainly in play. None of them are a fade. After these five, we're going down into the mid-tier, and Luis Gil really stands out. Really anybody at this point in time facing off against Seattle. We've been picking on Seattle all season long with pitchers, and we're not going to stop now. The season ends next week. Somehow, I don't know how, but Luis Gil, he's that roller coaster of a pitcher where he's gonna go out there and he's gonna do amazing and get you 8 to 10 strikeouts and just smash his salary. But then he's also going to go out and have those starts where, the command is not there and he's walking a lot of people. And there's that concern to go along with it. So which one's going to be showing up here tonight remains to be seen. But still, he's in a very favorable matchup. And it would not shock me if he sees quite a bit of ownership at 8.8 salary price tag. The other guy I really want to highlight here is going to be Tyler McGill. Washington somehow has the lowest implied run total on the entire board. Now, McGill, he's fine. He's solid. He's not a guy that I'm like, yes, you must have him into your lineups here tonight, because like Washington is another team like San Diego and Houston where they're a low strikeout lineup. So McGill, I'm not expecting him to be, having a 9 strikeout performance here. I think he's more going to be in that 4 to 5 strikeout range in this matchup. But at 7.7K, I don't know. I feel like he's just kind of like an average play in a good matchup, or not in a good matchup, in a favorable spot to get the win, facing off against Washington. So he's there. Washington has an extremely low run total. I don't know if I'm going to be super on him. Like, if I'm building only 3 lineups, I'm not going to be playing him. But I just wanted to highlight that out, just that, Washington does have the lowest implied run total on the board here. After Heel and McGill, though, Wu, Bassett, Lynn, just kind of like the leftover scraps. Nobody I'm really going to be targeting. Wu's got a brutal matchup facing against New York, but I still take him over Bassett and Lynn. Heading over to the cheap tier, Canning, Parker, Montas. Montas had a fantastic game his last start out. Parker's honestly been looking pretty solid as of late too. He's just got a tougher spot facing off against the Mets, but we do have Canning, super cheap. Is this a pitcher I'm excited to be targeting? Nope. No. There's definitely hesitation and reservation with this. I mean, we're talking about a guy with an ERA of 5.5. In his past 10 starts, an ERA of 6. It's not good. But he is facing off against the White Sox, and we're getting a pitcher at 6K against the White Sox at home on the favored team. Who's gonna go 95 plus pitches? He's gonna see ownership. he's not something that we can ignore. But again, am I trusting myself to throw Griffin Canning into cash games? I have to think about it more. As the day goes on, we'll see what my thoughts turn into. But at this point in time, I think there's a little bit too much concern with his control, with his command. And then I just want to see the bats. Like, if I'm going to be going heavier towards like those higher priced bats, especially in Coors Field, you kind of almost have to go with Griffin Canning here. But I don't know. He's shown flashes, against the Dodgers of all teams, and Toronto and the Mets. Like, he has these 20-point games. But he also has those negative point games that are just as frequent, if not more frequent, for him. So that's kind of where the pitching ranks out for me. I feel like after Montas, there's another big gap. So after McGill, after Montas, and then all these guys in the high salary are just fine. So it is a Coors Field slate. So Arizona, kind of already mentioned, like their implied run total is like 6.5. I think the next highest is 5-1 maybe with the Cubs. So I'm just trying to like think back on what the sheet had. I really should just pull that up for you guys. But Arizona, highest implied run total, just playing in Coors Field. They're going to be mashing the ball. Corbin Carroll, just everybody, just throw in Arizona. The only issue with them is that they're priced just like Coors Field. Like, they're just through the roof. We got 7 guys priced 4.9K or above, with Marte leading the charge at 6.6. So it's going to be really tough to jam both those guys in, especially if you're wanting one of the pitchers like Reagans or Wheeler. After Arizona, though, I really do like Chicago, and I really like the affordability of Chicago as well. Bellinger's their most expensive guy at 5.1. Arizona, over half their lineup is priced higher than 5.1. So it wouldn't shock me if Chicago sees a little bit more of the ownership and interest from people here tonight. Because, like, at Arizona's salary price tags, even if they still get like 6, 7, 8 runs at those salaries, like, are they going to be paying off a whole heap ton? I certainly can see a spot where Chicago also scores 6, 7, 8 runs, and they're coming in at a much steeper discount. You got guys like Swanson at 4.2K, Michael Busch at 4.4. You could see some popularity there. It's a nice lefty-righty matchup. Suzuki split. Hap is split. Suzuki, he's got great numbers getting right-handed pitching, and then you got Bellinger with his home run upside in the lefty-righty matchup as well. So I really do like Chicago. I almost actually prefer them over Arizona when we're taking into like the salary considerations with all of that. Cheap team, Kansas City, we'll go GPP. But cheap team is going to be the Angels facing off against Chicago, facing off against Martin, I believe. So Martin, yep, he's okay, but still, you got to think about that Chicago bullpen that the Angels are going to be facing off against, and you also have to take into account the salary. Like, if you want to be getting like a dual ace pitcher like Wheeler and Reagans, or Wheeler and Eovaldi, or even Wheeler and Heel, you're going to need some of this value, and I think the Angels are going to be where you're going to be finding that value. Hopefully, Moniak is going to be in. He's been out for 2 days, I believe, at this point in time, but if he's in, certainly going to have interest with right there at 3.3K. Cavadas at 2.4 is always, going to be a nice value option right in the heart of that Angels lineup too. So like, the value is out there for you to jam in those higher price bats, higher price pitchers, and it's probably just going to be coming from the Angels. So hopefully this is kind of able to guide you in the right direction. Still a lot more research I want to do before solidifying this, because these sheets, as we've gone throughout the season, these are not final. It's just kind of through like our initial looks at everything, but hopefully this was still able to guide you in the right direction. Best of luck in all of your contests here tonight, and Megaror will be back for the video tomorrow. See ya.